Okay, one more time. This message goes out to MRA, okay? And I understand that the majority of MRA are cowards and they'll run from them because they have been running from TFL for a long time. You'll slam TFL behind our back. Yeah. Oh, don't think we don't know that you've done that, because I do know you've done that because I've seen your remarks, okay? But I've got a question for you. I want to show you a few things because you are a so-called men's rights activist, right? You are supposedly speaking out for men's rights. Is that not right? Okay? And so I want to see, since you are supposedly men's rights activists and you're speaking out for men's rights, but yet you run from me. Okay? You run from the root cause, but think that you're going to solve the problem by ignoring the root cause. Anyhow, I have a couple things I want to show you. So just bear with me, and I really don't expect any of the MRA people out there to have any balls and to be real men and to address this issue, because from what I'm seeing, MRA seems to be quite fake. That's right, quite fake. Seems to have lots of vaginas in it and lots of fakes in it, and nobody that's actually real. Because if you were so real, you might address what I'm saying. I'm not talking about a war. I'm not talking about calling names. I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about talking as real adults. But the majority of the MRA people fail at that, don't you? But anyhow, watch it.
I would say being a woman and traveling to all these different countries really taught me sort of what it means to be a woman, because in each of these countries, each of these cultures, it takes on a different meaning. And really in poverty situations, women are treated the worst. One of my trips was to Chad, for example, and there in Africa, women make up over 80% of the farmers are women. And we visited this little, dusty little town, and it was the heat of the day, and the men of the village were sitting inside drinking tea. So as you have to do, you go and you visit with the men first, and they sort of give their approval, and then they were like, okay, I'll show you where our wives are. And they drove us out to this field, and all the women were there with babies, strapped to their backs, working the fields. There, if you're born a woman, your best hope is to get married when you're young and, slave in the fields, essentially. And
Now, you MRA people, you understand she's right, right? You know that you'd find men sitting in a shop in AC or out of the heat, drinking tea, while they let their women go out and work in the fields, and that the men are so lazy that they wouldn't even take care of their kids while the women were working in the fields, and they'd make their kids go with their mothers, and mothers strap the kids to their side as they were working and slaving away, so that the men could have a luxury life of ease, right? Right? Is that right? So most of you MRA guys do agree with what she just said? Watch out.
women eat last. So women are the caretakers of their families, their communities. They're going to feed their families first, and they'll wait to eat last. So in hunger situations, women are generally go hungry first before their kids and their husbands.
And once again, to men's rights activists over there, men's rights, okay? We do know that women eat last, okay? And we know that they are the caretakers, they're the providers, they're the protectors. Well, they must be the providers and protectors, because they was out in the field working really hard with their kids strapped to their side while the men were enjoying themselves out of the heat, drinking tea, okay? And we know women would go hungry for their men and their children, right? So they must be the providers and the protectors nowadays, right? I just thought I'd throw that at you because most of you MRA guys, you run from like a plague, okay? So you run from the truth like a plague, but now I got something really good to ask you, and we'll see how, well, watch this.
A vice president who spent his career working to improve women's lives.
I met Joe Biden a long, long time ago because he was working on these issues. He wrote the Violence Against Women Act years before it passed. For
Joe Biden, my ex might still be out there calling my phone and breaking my windows in my car and taking my son for weeks without me seeing him. Now I realize my son won't have a father, but now I know that my son has me. My son has his mother.
Joe Biden wrote the Violence Against Women Act. So we finally treat domestic violence like the heinous crime that it is. And in case you're wondering, John McCain voted against that legislation.
There's progress being made, thanks in large part to a lawsuit put forward by David demanding services for male victims.
There was injustice in the state of California. Laws were written that specifically said that only women can be victims of domestic violence, and only women need services for domestic violence, written into law that way. And that's not right.
Jan says the only chance men have of proving that they are victims is by not reacting to the abuse at all.
A lot of men will defend themselves, and I tell them, as sad as this is, guys, roll up and curl in a ball and take whatever she's given, because if you defend yourself, you're going to jail.
Okay, now with all of that you just seen, my real question comes out right now to the MRA guys, okay? To the so-called men's rights activists, okay? What did you see there? You saw Joe Biden, that's right. Your vice president, that's right. You saw a law that was rolled in long before it passed. It was wrote by Joe Biden. Now, do you suppose that he just accidentally wrote into law everything for the women and nothing for men? Okay. Do you suppose that was an accident? Do you suppose he didn't know what he was doing when he did that? That he was just that stupid? You know, the reason I showed you that is because, see, men are supposed to just take it, take it, take it, take it. And MRA over here, they're supposedly activists. They're fighting for the men's rights, right? Isn't that what you're doing? Isn't that what I've been doing all along, too? Isn't that what this is doing, is fighting for your rights, men's rights? Yes, it is. Oh, but that's right. It's fighting for equalness across the board as well. Oh, but that's right. You don't want that, do you? But I guess my real question goes like this. How is it that you think that you can change the legislation, the bills, the laws that was passed to give you men, to give men back equal rights to women, to give you more rights back that was taken from you by going to the very same people who took it from you? Do you think that they didn't know what they was doing when they took it from you? What, do you think that was an accident? That they just overlooked you? Come on. Do you really think that Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, come on, let's go, come on. Do you really think your Congress, your Senate, your government just accidentally overlooked men? That it was wrote into law that men cannot be victims of domestic violence, and that was just an accident? Are you really that naive? Are you really that stupid? Because if you're really that naive and stupid, well, then you deserve what you get. Because, see, I've been saying it for a long time. The division amongst the genders was created by the government you're supporting. These laws was not wrote this way by accident. It was wrote this way deliberately. Now there you are, supposedly speaking out for men's rights activists, okay? And as you're speaking out for men's rights, you're cowering out at the same time. You're going to the people who deliberately pass these laws these way and asking them to change them. Why would they want to change them to give you rights? That wasn't an accident. They didn't accidentally leave you out. They didn't accidentally not see what was really going on in society. They know full well what's going on. They know full well what this was going to cause. They know full well how women was going to act. Women have basically gone to bed with the government. Women, sad as this is to say, and I'm not saying it's all women, so don't take it that way, but it is the majority, okay, have deliberately gone to bed with the government because, see guys, you're no longer the provider, the protector. As the gal showed you at the beginning there, MRA, the women are the providers and protectors now. That's right. You was there in there zipping tea while they was out working in the fields with kids strapped to their back because you're too lazy to even take care of your own children. Oh, but you're going to change that by going to the people who done this to you. You're going to change this by going to them and asking them to please change it for you. Like as if they didn't know what they was doing when they wrote the bill. And if you're stupid enough to believe they didn't know what they was doing when they wrote this way, there is no help for you. No help for you at all. So the only thing I can say to MRA, men's rights, so-called men's rights activists, are you really activists for men's rights? Or is somebody that started MRA working with the government? That'd be my question for you. Is somebody like Paul Elam, for example, I'm not saying he is, but could he possibly be working with the politicians? Think about that. Because why would you go to the people who done this to you and ask them to change it? Why wouldn't you take them out of their positions? If they're supposedly voted in, why wouldn't you remove them from them positions and then get the shit changed the way it should be? And you're going to go ask the criminal. I mean, that's like asking a serial killer to please stop killing and expect him to do it. I mean, you know, there's just no common sense here, but I thought I'd throw that at you. I really don't expect an answer because I have discovered one thing. The majority of MRA are cowards, okay, when it comes to, they are cowards, okay? I do not see any MRAs that will address me, do a debate, call into the radio show. Have an honest discussion without calling names. An honest discussion with no names calling, no hating one another, because this is not about hate. Aren't we supposed to be fighting the same fight? Isn't that what TFL's been doing, is fighting the same fight you're fighting? The only difference is I went to the root cause, where you ran from the root cause. You know, and if you continue to run from the root cause, then it's obvious you don't want to fix the problem and you're fake. Because that's like your starter's going bad on your car, and the windings are bad and it's drawing too many amps and killing your battery, so you're going to keep replacing your battery. You're going to replace your alternator and battery over and over and over and over again instead of going to the root cause and replacing the starter so that you ain't got to keep buying alternators and batteries. I guess you would rather keep buying alternators and batteries. Now, the reason I use the car as an example is because that's what MRA is doing. They're running from the root cause of the problem, and then they're asking the root cause of their problem to please change it like they accidentally done this. Sad.